Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. Yes, in this week's video we're going to be looking at our water pump. Now this is our very first Caravan, so I've got nothing to compare this to, but again it's quite noisy, and looking actually how it's put together, it is a bit of a vibration box down there, so I'm not surprised it's louder than it could be. So in this week's video I'm just going to look to see how I can reduce the overall sound levels coming from that area, so when we are using the tap, the shower and everything, again it's as quiet as it can be. Yeah, I'm going to try and use things that I've got lying about the house. So again, it's not going to be sort of a costly exercise, but just something to reduce the sound levels overall. So what we'll do is we'll get the Caravan filled up, get it primed, and again we'll take a reading before we get started to make any changes, and then obviously we'll take a reading at the end to see what the difference is. Again, I have no idea what the difference is going to be at this stage, if it's going to make any improvement at all, but looking at what we've sort of got and what I've experienced before, there's definitely an improvement that can be made in my eyes, but again, proof will be in the pudding. So yeah, we'll get the water system set up and get that underway. So this is how our setup looks currently, and when I've looked online and looked at different setups, they all seem to be the same when they come from the manufacturer, that these pipes are actually under quite a bit of tension, where I think they're sort of slightly too long. They could be helped by being cut a little bit shorter, and again I'm guessing they're in a rush when they're in the factory to get these sort of fitted and onto the next conveyor belt part, and again these look like they could do with coming out slightly, so I'm hoping once we've made some changes this will all help towards the vibrations going through this area. And I think the ducting and the 12-volt box there, again I think the vibration travels all the way through, which is sort of all having a knock-on effect. So yeah, we'll look to make some improvements in this area, and hopefully the overall sound will go down. So now we're going to get the obviously system primed with water, and obviously the first step is making sure you've turned your switch off so it doesn't just pour straight out the bottom. So obviously step one, and now let's get some water pumped into the van. This weather is a nightmare at the moment, on off, so yeah, got a little bit wet just filling up the water system, but yeah, let's get it pumped into the van. So this is the kind of noise we would expect to normally as it pumps through, and again I wouldn't say it's overly loud, but I'm guessing it can be improved, which is the thing that we're looking to achieve today. I would say a lot of the noise is coming from over here and here, so just pulling that out is helping. So yeah, we'll let that finish and then we'll see what we can do to improve it. Right, so let's do the first test. So I'll put the water on. This is the sound meter. So it's about 50. About 57. And when the seating is back as normal, which would add a bit of sound deadening, you can see it's about 50. So to help reduce the sound, here's some rubber washers that I got for a previous job in one of the bathrooms that we had. So again, these are some of the things I had left over, and this is just some packaging actually from a HelloFresh box that I got off a friend. So yeah, actually it matches the Caravan quite well in terms of colour, but yeah, I'm hoping this would be the sound deadening that I need. That'll help us sort of achieve the reduced sound levels overall. So yeah, we'll get this installed and see what happens. Rightio, so got the screws out, and obviously I'm going to be adding these, so it's going to add a little bit more distance between the two. So I just need to go in and find some other screws that I can use just to, I can get these in. Rightio, so the plan of action is, so two of the screws that was holding this in, that was slightly longer than this, I'm going to use for this, because once I've got these on, that's about the right kind of distance that I need to be able to screw into this without it piercing the other side. And then I've just found some other screws that will incorporate this and this spacer, and hopefully that will go in there nicely. Now, just to let you know, this is still pressurized in terms of the water's actually in the system. I haven't bled it down because all I'm doing is just putting these spacers in. If you are obviously going to start playing with the connections and trying to get the right distance and stuff, obviously you're going to need to drain it down, because you don't want to have suddenly a water leak or a pond happening within this space. So yeah, depending on what you're doing, take the right action. Hopefully you're continuing to find the content that you need on this channel and it is being helpful. Again, all we ask is if you do that give it a thumbs up, share the content with friends, and obviously subscribe to the channel. Obviously that's the way this channel grows and helps more people. And again, there's no cost to you. All it is just a little click of that button down there in the bottom right corner, and yeah, you really are supporting the channel by doing so. Rightio, so that's the spacers in, and it's just brought it out. I just wanted to get this cable out, so I want to see exactly how that's put in, because I don't want that vibrating either. So now I'm going to start moving on to some of the sound deadening and start placing that in here as well, and then we'll run another test to see if we've actually achieved anything or just added extra screws and felt for no reason. And the places I want to add the felt, as I said before, is in and around here, in between here, behind there, under this connection, and anything under here that I can, just so again anything that will absorb that sound. And then I'm toying whether if I actually make a piece that goes around here. I'm not overly worried about overheating, because it's not going to be on long enough to worry about for that kind of thing. But let's do the first piece and then we'll see what happens. Rightio, so what I've learnt with ours, and I'm guessing this is going to be a bit of trial and error for everybody that's trying to have a look at this. This sort of wadding, felt insulation sort of stuff, is great for the pipes and the ducting at the back, but it's the actual pump itself is where you get the main issue, where it's slightly off the ground. And again, what I've used is a bit of pipe insulation to stick under at the back here and underneath, and that's made the biggest difference in terms of keeping it in a solid place without it sort of vibrating too much. and I think that's your biggest winner. And so again, you'll have to see what you have available to you, but making this as secure and solid as you can, and adding some of the rubber washers just so again to help with the vibration, I think that's where you'll get your biggest wins. So I'll turn it on now and I'll show you the difference. So obviously you can still hear the pump because there's no way around that, but in terms of where we were at, we're at 57 something when we first looked at this. So we've gone from 57 something down to about 40, just under 48, give or take. So obviously, yeah, there is an improvement there. And final test with all the seating back. So that does sound much quieter from where we were. So we're at 50s. So now we're around 42, give or take. But overall, that is a lot quieter than when we started off, which was the whole purpose of having a look at this. So that's worked out really well. Like you say, it's not the prettiest, but like I say, this is an area that you don't sort of sit and look at whilst you're on your holidays. So yeah, no, for us, I think that's been a good result, and we'll see how we get on with our next trip. But yeah, for something that cost us nothing, just loose bits that I had in the house, that's made a massive difference in terms of the sound. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth having a little experiment with your own if you're sort of thinking that yours is a bit loud. Obviously it'll vary. Sometimes obviously the pumps might be on their way out, so it might be for different reasons, but yeah, no, really happy with that so far. Rightio, so yeah, I'm happy with those results. I've noticeably seen a big difference in the van itself. It's always hard obviously using the mics on GoPros and stuff, but until you sort of do it on your own van, you won't fully appreciate a game where you're winning and losing in terms of some of the sound reduction. Like I say, so I really recommend sort of, yeah, having a play, wedging foam under different parts of it, and yeah, you'll slowly get to a point where you think that works best for you. So with all the seating back, we've gone from about 50 decibels down to about 42, so again a reduction of 8. So again, when you actually start listening to this in the van, you will notice a difference. Obviously you're not going to remove it completely, but again, the more you can, the better it is. But again, some people don't really mind the sound of that. Again, it wasn't really a bugbear, but again, I thought I'd have a look and just see what we could do in terms of the materials that we had in the house. And yeah, for me, that's worked really well. I'll be interested to know your views as well, whether it's something that you've attempted in the past or you've gone about it slightly different. Again, love to hear your views, so again, please drop a comment in the box below, just so again we can continue to share the information, which is exactly what the purpose of the channel is about, just making sure that, yeah, if we're looking at different scenarios, again, we've got different content covering these kind of things. So yeah, interesting to see what views and what actions you've done in the past in this area. As I pointed out at one of the points in the video, again, I left the system primed, so again it had water in the system. I didn't bleed it back down in terms of when I was making the alterations there. I was quite confident and happy with what I was doing. I was only obviously taking the screws out and putting the additional spacers in. But again, if you were looking to sort of shorten the pipe or check any of the connections, then again I highly recommend obviously turning the water pump off and draining the system down. But that's it for this week's video. Hopefully it's been helpful, and as always, I will see you all on the next one. Cheers everyone.